Hey, good morning, everybody. It's OBX Today for Wednesday, September the 8th, 2021. Feels like a Tuesday, doesn't it? Short week. And I'm Sam Walker. Glad you're along with us for another edition of OBX Today live here on Facebook and YouTube. And, well, you can see from our live shot, courtesy of surfchecks.com, of how big the waves have gotten already this morning. Up and down the Outer Banks. There's switch over from our shot just south of Jeanette's Pier in South Nags Head to here's a view from Hatteras Village this morning. And, yep, they're up. Waves are here, and it's going to be great surf conditions, it looks like, for the next couple of days, but that also means to stay out of the ocean. Now, we do have a south wind with this, so that's slopping up a little bit on the south beaches, but it looks pretty good, rideable for sure. Up at Jeanette's, don't see anybody out there right now, so maybe not as rideable as we think. So there is that aspect to throw into the mix as well this morning. So what's the latest on Larry? Well, it is still a pretty powerful hurricane, still pretty far out. in fact. And it's going to pass just east of Bermuda by Thursday and Friday. Actually Thursday. But given Larry's large size, tropical storm conditions are possible on the island nation. It's about 700 miles east of Cape Hatteras, with risk of heavy rain and coastal flooding there. And a tropical storm watch is up for Bermuda. That's the only watches in place right now. Larry's current forecast track is going to carry it off. It looks like Newfoundland's actually going to get the biggest threat out of this. That at least on North America's side from Larry. But our concern with Larry is obviously the surf we're seeing out of it, and it's going to be that way at least through the rest of the week, it looks like, and into the weekend. It'll take a little while for the swell to die down from Larry. And some interesting information I got yesterday from Michael Colby at the National Weather Service office in Wilmington. He was on the National Weather Service has their chat room, which is available to members of the media and, of course, forecasters and emergency management. We get a lot of good stuff out of that and get a chance to communicate with the different offices around the country directly to get some more information. And Michael had shared this about what was going on yesterday at Frying Pan Shoals Buoy. That's about 30 miles southeast of Cape Fear off the southeast coast of North Carolina. Frying Pan Shoals Buoy, which the Frying Pan Shoals Light Tower, the old light towers that used to be out there. You got Diamond Shoals, light tower still there, well, what's left of it. Frying Pan Shoals, which has been converted into a bed and breakfast, essentially. In fact, you know what? They do have a live shot there from on YouTube that we could pull up and give you a look at that. And while we're doing that, let's see if what things look like way out there, much closer to what's going on closer to Larry. It doesn't look like his live camera's up on YouTube, so we're not going to be able to pull that up. Sorry. Oh well, just thought it'd be cool to pull up, but it doesn't look like it's up right now, so won't be able to pull that up at the moment. But what Michael Colby at National Weather Service office was telling us yesterday was that they are just looking at the data that's coming in so far off of Larry yesterday in 108 feet of water was showing how sea life was oscillating back and forth in that waves. And as a wave group, the velocity of the 15-second period, so that's the time between the peak waves, was at that time 15 seconds. Velocity of 15-second period is just under 25 knots. But that they can estimate that the individual waves are moving at 45 knots, so roughly 48, 49 miles an hour. Almost like a traveling conveyor belt of waves. And this speed and the deeper influence and why longer period surf zone breakers are so much longer than what's known as shorter periods. The long periods tower up as it encounters the surf zone slope. So as the water shallows out, those waves do actually build and get higher, the peaks of them and the troughs. And that's what happens. That's why when we talk about a long period swell, which is what we're seeing, causes issues. This is pushing of excess water on the beach side of the sandbar. The rest of the week will force sandbar breaks and strong rushing rip currents that even an Olympic swimmer could not overcome head on. When we talk about this, when we talk about rip current safety, about that, that even the strongest swimmers can be overpowered by rip currents. This shows the force that is behind these rip currents being so strong. And talking about the sandbar breaks, that's something interesting, is that when you get these strong waves like this that are moving in the 25 to 45 knot range, that's where you get blowouts and sandbars. That's what creates the more rip currents. So you may swim or go out on the beach somewhere every day all summer long, and you can see where the rip currents form. You can see what we call sloughs. Those are the good spots to go fish at. and that's the breaks in the sandbar. When you get a situation like we've got going on today and the next couple of days, is when you get these breaks in the sandbars, and that's what creates more numerous rip currents. When we talk about the numerous rip currents, we talk about them from an aspect of not so much that they're happening constantly, because they are happening constantly in certain spots. They're happening at more places along the ocean front. So that's when we talk about the more numerous rip currents. And that's the situation we've got set up now here on the Outer Banks and pretty much all the North Carolina coast, Virginia, South Carolina, pretty much all of the southeastern United States do not go in the ocean the next couple of days because of these big waves that we're getting from Larry. The latest on these, they're running about 3 to 4, maybe 5 feet right now. We're probably going to get up to between maybe 6 to 9 before it's all said and done. In some spots, especially as you get down to Hatteras Island, Rodanthe, that, of course, being the farthest east point here on the Outer Banks. I'm just going to take a look real quick at the ocean forecast. We do have a small craft advisory going into effect tonight. It's going to last through Saturday. The current forecast for just offshore, south of Oregon Inlet, is for 3 to 5 feet today, 4 to 6 feet tonight, 5 to 7 feet on Thursday, 5 to 8 Thursday night, 6 to 9 on Friday, and then we'll start to see them subside on Friday night and Saturday, and be back down to 3 feet on Sunday. So trying to go offshore after today is not going to be a good idea. Probably a lot of boats did not make the trip out today because I haven't heard Captain Marty's report yet this morning. But you throw these breakers, like we're seeing right now, on top of that ocean bar, the big sandbar that's right off of Oregon Inlet, that is very difficult to navigate for boats. Now, something to be noted also about is not just the power of these waves in the water, but if you're on the beach and you're taking a walk along the breakers right up along the shore break, something about long period swell is they can rush up the sand much quicker at times and with much more force, and they will clip you if you're not expecting it. So kids and older adults need to be careful because it's very easy to get knocked down and dragged out when we get waves like this. Obviously, we've had a tragedy like that with little Wesley there at Lillian Street a couple of years ago in Kitty Hawk. So if you're going to be out on the beach for the next couple of days, stay out of the ocean. Don't even go above your knees now because, like I said, when we're looking at those shots, like the shot we're getting from Jeanette's Pier right now, those are some pretty strong waves. They are going to start making the run up. We're not expecting to see a major overwash out of this. We might have a little bit of minor overwash with high tide at some weak spots on Friday and Friday night. That's when the peak of the surf is supposed to be, is Friday and Friday night. So we might see a little bit of water come up to the toe of the dunes. Might see a little bit go over into the weak spots on Pea Island. Also at where Isabel's Inlet was, the Sandy Bay access between Hatteras and Frisco. Maybe something at the motels in Buxton, but not anything that's a long duration event out of this system right now. We do have another area of disturbed weather that we are watching in the Gulf of Mexico that may get out into the Atlantic in the next couple of days. And it may be something that we want to, that may develop. Now, today and tomorrow looks like it's going to be sending rain and a little bit of gusty winds to down along the Gulf Coast. Today, I'm going to switch over to tropicaltidbits.com. There's what's known as 91L, Invest 91L. There's a satellite image of it. Here's the coast of Louisiana. So they're getting some showers and storms possibly out of this. This system is going to continue tracking to the northeast eventually over the next couple of days. The current model track takes it into the Big Bend, Pensacola area, a little east of the Big Bend, west of the Big Bend. That's the current couple of the models. Take it inland, take it across North Florida, South Georgia, and then back out into the Atlantic by Friday, and then off our coast on the weekend. Not a lot of model data to go with off that one. Let me go back to couple of different models that we do have available to us. This is the GFS, and they're pretty solid about it. Where it's at right now here, south of Louisiana, making a northeastward track onto the Florida mainland, and then across North Florida, South Georgia, Jacksonville area, and then anywhere between Jacksonville and Savannah, coming offshore and then kind of meandering along between us and Bermuda. So right now our forecast for the wave action is really focused on the Larry waves, but this could create even more of a situation with the waves in the next 48 to 72 hours. And then this is going to get out into the trail of Larry. Probably not develop a lot further. There is potential for it to develop as a weak tropical storm, which would be called Mindy, maybe in the next Friday, possibly. That's the latest on what's called 91L out in the Gulf of Mexico. Intensity forecast not really taking up much. One model takes it into tropical storm. It may get up to tropical depression. Most of the models agree it's going to become a tropical depression at some point, which would be TD12, TD13. But Mindy is the next name on the list as of right now. But we're still maybe a day or two out before we really have to be concerned with what Mindy could do. And again, it looks like with the current forecast track, it's going to make it, keep it as a minimal tropical storm. Maybe it's just a tropical depression, and it's really just going to be a wave maker for us. Now, it could combine with that cold front that's coming through tonight here. Our forecast is calling for that to happen, and we may see some thunderstorms today, not related to any of this tropical stuff. It's just a cold front that's coming through. It might bring us some strong thunderstorms. Inland areas especially are probably looking at more of a better chance of getting some strong thunderstorms out of that front coming through in the next 24 hours. So we'll go more about the OBX Today Weather Center forecast in just a little bit. Some other headlines this morning for you. COVID-19 clusters in North Carolina schools and child care settings are currently listed as 170, according to the latest report for the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services. And while the state does not have data on the number of pupils quarantined statewide, or the share of those forced to miss school without a remote learning option, districts without mask wearing requirements are seeing substantially more spread of the virus and hours of lost learning among students. The state's sixth largest public school district, that's Union County, east of Charlotte, voted down a proposal last night to require masks. They are going to keep it optional. All the schools here in Northeast North Carolina have made masks mandatory, except Camden. They did put in a little caveat on their masks that it had to be they had to be worn when within 3 feet of close contact with someone. Rest of the schools have made it mandatory inside no matter what. So that's the latest there. As far as some of the latest on COVID-19 in North Carolina with regards to the schools. But again, 71% increase in the past week in K through 12 clusters. That should be obvious since the last school started last week in North Carolina for most schools. 125 were in K through 12 schools and 36 in child care settings last week. New report shows that child cases of COVID-19, 252,000 reported last week in children alone, marking the single largest number of pediatric cases in a week since the pandemic began. The U.S. hitting the 40 million positive test rate as of March. Since March. North Carolina numbers also yesterday coming out 25,000 new cases between last Friday and Monday. 6 times more cases reported over this past Labor Day holiday weekend compared to 2020. 123 deaths reported in North Carolina as well. One thing to note, Dare County had the same exact number of cases last week and the previous 2 weeks. Both of those 7-day periods, we had the exact same number in Dare County of positive tests come back at 258 All right, some other news. Our friends over at CarolinaJournal.com have a story up. This has to do with the surgery center, the ambulatory surgery center in Kitty Hawk. That's the Centera facility. 259, by the way. Go back to the Dare County numbers, 259 each of the last 2 weeks. All right, this story from CarolinaJournal.com, an ambulatory surgery center in Kitty Hawk will remain closed for the foreseeable future thanks to the latest Certificate of Need ruling from the North Carolina Court of Appeals. A unanimous 3-judge appellate panel reversed a lower court decision. The lower court's order might have allowed the center to reopen with minimal new state red tape, the Carolina Journal writes. The case involves an ambulatory surgery center owned by Centera that was in Kitty Hawk between 1989 and 2017. Centera had 2 state certificates of need for the facility at the time of the shutdown. In June of 2018, a company called FMSH approached state regulators with a plan to reopen the center. They argued that reopening would be exempt from the state certificate of need process, which requires healthcare providers to seek state permission to operate facilities, add hospital beds, and purchase certain medical equipment. According to the appeals court's opinion, the routine CON review process is statutorily sanctioned to take between 125 and 190 days. The legal disputes can extend the process for years. FMSH claimed its exemption under provision of state law that would treat the Kitty Hawk Center as a legacy medical care facility. At the time of its request, FMSH had no legal interest in the facility and had not contacted Centera about purchasing or reopening the facility, according to the court opinion. At the same time, Centera had no plans to reopen or resume operation of either the ambulatory facility or diagnostic center portion of the facility. In fact, nothing is in that building except bare drugs. This is that building that's right next to the rest area when you come into Kitty Hawk. State regulators were willing to go along with FMSH's plans under 2 conditions. First, they would have to legally acquire the facility from Centera, and it would have to reopen by this past June. FMSH challenged the conditions in court. An administrative law judge ruled in October of 2019 in FMSH's favor. The judge ruled that state regulators had no authority to require legal interest in the closed surgery center facility. The ruling required state regulators to transfer the CONs from Centera to FMSH. The appeals court, though, rejected the administrative law judge's ruling. That interpretation leaves open a significant question to be answered in a subsequent case. According to the appeals court, if an entity does not need to first own an LMCF before it's given a certificate of need to operate, and multiple entities also notify the agency their intent to operate, which entity is awarded that certificate of need, Judge Jefferson Griffin wrote in his written opinion. If multiple entities all expressed an intent to operate, the agency would need to undergo some additional review process to determine which entity is awarded the CON. Griffin challenged another piece of the earlier ruling, refers to that administrative law judge refers to the agency's decision as affecting an absurdity, asserting that adoption of the agency's interpretation would necessitate holding that the legislative intent was to protect the financial interests of a failed business entity, but the court disagreed. Rather, it would be an absurdity to force a new entity to give a failed business an economic windfall by buying their assets, but it would be equally absurd to allow a new entity to step into the shoes of another, take on the economic benefits of operating a health service facility, and obtain a certificate of need without paying for the privilege to avoid the associated burdens first. Griffin focused on the purpose of identifying legacy medical care facilities that avoid standard certificate of need reviews. Says Judges Chris Dillon and Darren Jackson agree with Griffin. The state Supreme Court is under no obligation to hear the case. They could if it is appealed. So that it's a lot of legal mumbo jumbo in there. But essentially what it's saying is that this company that wanted to reopen at least the ambulatory surgery center, that's your outpatient surgery, in Kitty Hawk at the Centera facility, is not allowed to because the state certificate of need law doesn't allow it. That whole thing with certificate of need has been a controversy for years. Some claim that it keeps rural healthcare from being available, healthcare being available in rural areas. Others say it's to keep hospitals from going places than failing. There's a lot that's been done. Carolina Journal, which is an arm of the John Locke Foundation, they have been pushing for the certificate of need laws in North Carolina to be changed, which would, in some cases, benefit rural areas. This situation does have an impact here in northeastern North Carolina. We've seen it when the hospital in Belhaven was closed. That was closed by Biden because they couldn't afford, they said, to continue running it. That has to do with the fact they don't get Medicaid reimbursements from the federal government. That's where a lot of rural hospitals have been closing. Plymouth, the hospital in Washington County, struggling with that as well. And rural hospitals across North Carolina have struggled with this. So it'll be interesting to see how this goes if it goes to the state Supreme Court. We'll get this story up from carolinajournal.com and obxtoday.com so you can read it further. All right, some other news we got for you. Our friends over at News Channel 12, that's the ABC affiliate in New Bern, got a story this morning about 3 house fires in Plymouth that have happened in recent days. 2 homes on East 4th Street caught fire first. Then crews realized a fire across the street was also a house also across the street was on fire. So the State Bureau of Investigation is looking into this. So it's 3 houses in Plymouth that have burned recently, and there's concerns about it. Investigators said it took 14 hours to put the fires out and collect all the evidence. We'll see what happens out of that. That's over if you go to WCTI12.com. Another story from our friends at the Coastal Review online, Jennifer Allen writing about some transportation design with resilience in mind is the goal of a new effort. Tim Haas, our pal from NCDOT's Division I and Ferry Division Communications Officer, answering some questions of Jennifer Allen regarding trying to deal with roadway flooding and how climate change has made the vulnerability of coastal roads a clear and more pressing problem. You can find that at coastalreview.org. We'll have that up at obxtoday.com as well later on. Marine Fisheries Commission is going to meet tomorrow at 2 o'clock. They're going to vote on amendments and readoption of 9 rules concerning waters managed jointly with the Wildlife Resources Commission. That's so the joint waters, if your fishing license, if you got one, there's waters that are regulated by both the Marine Fisheries Commission and the Wildlife Resources Commission. You have to have the joint license, essentially. If you got to have one or the other, or you have to have the coastal to fish those waters. And a lot of our waters, once you get off the beach on the other side of the sounds, are considered joint waters, are managed by both agencies. So these are just that's going to be a online meeting tomorrow to do, and we'll get a link up on that so you can see what exactly that's about on the H2O page at obxtoday.com. Dare County Regional Airport is going to be getting some money from the state and federal government. $315,000 has been awarded by the Department of Transportation. The State Transportation Board awarded this. The money going to the Dare County Regional Airport is to tear down a structure that's in the runway approach on the east side of the airport. Then also to create some bid documents and some money, paperwork basically. Hyde County Airport, which is just as you come into Englehart on 264, they're going to get $5.3 million to get the runway rehabbed and also replace what's known as the Precision Approach Path Indicator System. This is all part of $27 million in state and federal money that's going to airports around the state. All right. Still dealing with this head cold issue. Give me a second here. All right. Moving on. The North Carolina Wesleyan College student found unresponsive in a dorm last week died because of an underlying health condition. Officials said Tuesday, 19-year-old Matthew Clemens was found unresponsive in a residence hall at Wesleyan. That's in Rocky Mount on Thursday morning. His death result of an underlying health condition, neither foul play nor illegal substances were involved. Clemens was from Brunswick County and was a member of the North Carolina Wesleyan football team as a sophomore offensive lineman, and cancels at classes at North Carolina Wesleyan were canceled last Thursday and Friday because of that death. All right, before we move on to more sports, a Maryland-based brewery is suing North Carolina's ABC board, the ABC Commission, after one of their beer labels was rejected. It was deemed inappropriate. The owners of Flying Dog Brewery says in a lawsuit filed last month that the North Carolina Alcohol Beverage Control Commission has violated its First Amendment rights by rejecting the label for its Freezin' Season Winter Ale. Looking at the label, I'll throw it up here on the screen. Let's see here. Turn that off. Turn the bug on. There we go. No, that's a display capture. That's what we want. Okay. There's the label. This is from our friends at CBS 17 in Raleigh. It's a naked guy in front of a fire. And the North Carolina ABC Commission does not like it and has rejected that application. The artworks by Ralph Steadman consists of the silhouette of a naked man standing next to a campfire. The brewery says the label's already been approved in every other state within its 24-state distribution. Flying Dog Brewery's inability to advertise and commit to sell Freezin' Season in North Carolina has damaged Flying Dog Brewery by unlawfully depriving it of its right to free expression, costing it significant sales of its beer and ancillary products, the lawsuit says. In part, the commission has not returned a phone call seeking comment. So if you're trying to find Freezin' Season, it's from Flying Dog Brewery out of Maryland. Trying to find it here in North Carolina, you're not going to find it because the label's been rejected. Okay. Sometimes you got to wonder who's running things here in North Carolina. We have some rather, well, anyway, I'll save the comment. All right. Sports. High school football rankings are out. The News and Observer's top 15. The News and Observer and Charlotte Observer that got theirs out. Locals in the rankings. Northeastern ranked second in 2A this week, moving up one spot. Washington stays at 9th. Edenton jumps into the top 15. They're 14th this week after finally getting a game in last week with that win over Rocky Mount. That's in 2A. In 1A, the only local teams, Northside is ranked 11th. They were 12th last week. Perquimans is in flip-flop with Northside. They are at 12th, and Riverside in Williamston is ranked 15th. Those are the only locals in those top 15 rankings from the News and Observer on the high school front. High school sports today. You got just a handful of games today. Volleyball, first flight's over at Perquimans. Currituck travels out to Hertford County. And soccer, Currituck at Manteo, and North Pitt at Edenton, and Pascal Tank at Gates. Top 25 from the AP out in college football. North Carolina started out 10th. They're 24th after dropping that opener to Virginia Tech last Friday. The Hokies are 19th. Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, and Oklahoma, the top 4. Clemson ranked 6th. Coastal Carolina is 17th. OBX Today Weather Center forecast. High risk of rip currents. Stay out of the ocean. I can't say it enough. Don't go in there today. Got partly sunny skies. It's going to be warm, high 88. Winds out of the south around 5 to 10 miles an hour. Some gusts to 15 at times. Tonight, overnight shower, thunderstorm possible. Mostly cloudy, low 73 with southwest winds 10 to 15. Tomorrow, showers likely, possibly a thunderstorm, mainly in the afternoon with a high 84 and southwest winds of 5 to 10. Showers and storms ending Thursday night and a low 67. Winds will shift to the north as that front rolls through. And then on Friday, it's going to be sunny with a high 81 with north winds around 15 to 20. Saturday, sunny, 82. Sunday, sunny, 84. Sunny Monday, 87. Tuesday, sunny and 87. Coastal Marine forecast today. South winds around 10 to 15 knots. 1 foot waves or less on the sounds. At sea's already 4 to 5 feet. Small craft advisory goes into effect tonight. Going to last through the rest of the week. Water temperature is still not bad. In the mid to upper 70s, but you stir it up like we're going to stir it up. They're probably going to start dropping a little bit, even with the warm air temperatures we got and the sun angle. Sound side temperatures are upper 70s. Got a tide change coming up at 9:22. High tide this morning at 9:22 a.m. Sunrise, sunset tonight, 7:19. Sunrise tomorrow at 6:40. And currently 74 degrees with hazy conditions this morning. That onshore swell, of course, that's stirring up the salt too. So we're going to have some of that spray to deal with, along with the the hazy conditions, the humid conditions. That spray is going to be something to deal with now. Although we do have a south wind, so it's not really is blowing onshore. South wind does blow things onshore for us. So things, everybody's going to need to wash the car a little bit after this blow. And it's not really a blow. It's just more of just this onshore flow. So we're going to be dealing with this for the next couple of days. We'll be leading our stories with this, trying to keep you up to date on it. Again, don't expect any overwash issues. Just going to see this high surf. Some good surf, but stay out of the ocean. Don't do it. All right, folks? That's going to do it for this edition of OBX Today. We will be back with you tomorrow right around 8 o'clock every weekday morning here on the OBX Today Facebook page, along with the Sam Walker OBX Facebook page. We're doing things on YouTube as well. Eventually, we want to get it so we can stream on both at the same time. Got to figure that out. I think it's just something I got to click and it'll do it just fine. I'll figure it out. Anyway, have yourself a great Wednesday, everybody, and stay out of the ocean.